Taking a look ahead to the trading week beginning April 8th, we're going to be watching yield direction very closely. Also that ECB meeting. Yield direction in the U.S. was higher. Longer yields rose in the highest levels in 2024 before falling back slightly last week, but still finishing positive on the week. For example, the 10-year up 17 basis points last week. 30-year up about 19. 2-year not as much, closer to 10 to 12 basis points. Sentiment is growing on the ECB side that they're going to leave things alone at the next meeting, but they're going to cut rates in June. U.S. Federal Reserve still sitting with the highest probability for 3 rate cuts. Remember, 6 months ago it was for 6 rate cuts in 2024. So keeping an eye on yields as well as the reaction by yields to what the ECB says to see if there's any sort of deviation from a June rate cut, any sort of confirmation of that, or any sort of walking that back. We got to keep an eye on that very closely next week. We also have inflation data next week. CPI takes on a symbolically high level of importance based on some of the conversation around the possibility of inflation making a resurgence, with WTI crude getting above 87 last week, Brent crude above 91, gold hitting 5 consecutive new record highs last week. All of this contributed to equities being down on the week last week. So we want to keep an eye on the inflation data. If it comes out strong, people could start pricing those rate cuts out. As I mentioned, CME Fed Watch Tool still has 3 rate cuts as the highest probability for 2024, but there's actually a 0.9% probability, 0.9, so not even 1%, of a rate hike at the next FOMC meeting. Now, earnings and data next week. Q1 earnings begin with big banks, including JP Morgan, Chase, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, BlackRock, also Progressive, Constellation Brands, Delta Airlines, and CarMax. 16 companies reporting next week with market caps over $1 billion, with the big banks all on Friday. That starts Q1 earnings. In terms of data, so we've got Monday, Japanese EcoWatcher survey, Australian consumer confidence. Tuesday, Japanese consumer confidence and PPI. Wednesday, US CPI for March, and the FOMC minutes from the last meeting, which you'll want to watch. Also, a Bank of Canada interest rate decision and Chinese inflation data. Thursday, ECB interest rate decision and US PPI. Friday, German inflation data, UK GDP, and the preliminary April Michigan consumer sentiment data in the US.